Hi everyone. So I hope you guys can hear me, whosoever has tuned in. I just started this live stream few minutes earlier so that I could just be sure that it's being streamed well because I was just trying a different way of streaming. Hi Ursula, thanks for joining in. I would just want to confirm from you, can you hear and see me clearly? If you just All right, cool. Thanks for confirming that, Ursula. So I will continue because this is really a new way of streaming. So I was a little confused. But yeah, since you're here, and I think we can really just jump in. Firstly, so those of you who don't know me, I'm Radhika Nathani, and my personal brand is called Laughing Popcorn. I really associate a lot with that brand. And my purpose is to really spread happy vibes and help people and brands just be themselves, unapologetically be yourself. So, finding out personalities, being human, adding that human touch is something that I'm super passionate about. And that's kind of become my purpose in what I do. And in today's live stream, as you guys know, I will be talking about how to stop overthinking content for social media because this is something that I really struggled with a while back. I was literally, everywhere, everybody would just say that you got to make content and you have to just put yourself out there and just start making content. So, of course, I knew it's important, and but I just couldn't really do it. I wasn't consistent enough. But I kind of learned from my errors and mistakes, and that's what I'm going to share today. So, yeah, I think that's like a little warm up, and maybe we can just wait for another minute or so to let people tune in. And meanwhile, if you guys can just put your hands up, I know Ursula, you have tuned in, and if there is anybody else in here who wants to say hi, not really. So I think we can just get started. And okay, so the first thing that I want to really, really share that what really helped me get over the overthinking path was, you have to have clarity about what do you want. Why are you making content? Why are you even out there? Because as I was just saying, that sometimes everybody talks so much about content and, it's so much like the thing to do. So you tend to just start doing it without realizing why do you really want to be there. And I think that's the mistake that I also did, that I just went with the flow and I started getting into content making, and it was just literally like, hey, everybody says I should be making content, and from the very next day I was there on every platform trying to show up and trying to make something. But that is honestly not the best way, because although of course that's a spontaneous and a cool thing to do, but it's not always the nicest thing, because that really confused me. I was so unprepared that I just didn't know what to do. And then there was like that anxiousness of, hey, everybody is posting and I have to be there and I have to put something out there every day, every second day. That started really confusing me. So I think that's the first thing that I want to talk about, is that, and how I really got back to being, really normal with it, is I took a break. I took a 1 month break and I decided to pause. And I was like, hey, you know what? I am going to literally just give myself some time, let my mind go free, and then get back to thinking about why do I really want to make content. So the first thing that I want to talk about is really having clarity of why do you need to make content, what's the purpose of your brand, do you really want to do it, maybe you're already doing fine and you don't even have to do it. So are you getting just too influenced with what's going on, how everybody's talking about content? Is that why you're jumping into it? So that's the first question that I would want to ask. That I hope it's not just like being carried away. So yeah, on that note, are there any questions that you have? Or is that something that you feel also that you just jumped in too early and that is the reason why maybe, social media and content is getting a little overwhelming for you? Okay, I hope I'm really sorry because there is a glitch. I kind of see myself disappearing from YouTube, and that's why I'm just pausing. I hope that's not really happening. I hope this is continuing. Okay, no, I don't think so. I think we are in flow. Awesome. Yeah, so talking about having clarity of why do you really want to, get into content making is the first thing that actually helped me get over overthinking. And if you don't have that clarity, I would really say, because content making requires a lot of effort, it's a lot of energy, and going out there, putting yourself, it's not easy. So, don't just get onto it because everybody is saying so. If you really think it's worth it, if you have a purpose in mind, if you have a goal, then get onto it, and automatically that overthinking will kind of dilute and, it'll fade away. So that's the first thing I want to really stress on, and most of the problems get solved with it. Because when you're clear of what you want, that also automatically builds up that confidence, because you have ideas, you have so many things to talk about, and gradually people will start asking you questions, you'll build the connection. So that momentum is what is actually inspiring, and that starts motivating for you to move forward, and it just becomes easier. But when you're confused, you're not putting in things which are actually, syncing with people, you're not getting a response, then at least with me, this is what happened. Then you start wondering, hey, did I do it right? What should I do? What should I change? And that's where that overthinking starts, wherein you start thinking, okay, maybe this is not what I should be doing. That's what I should be doing. But the ideal situation is that when you're very clear of what are you trying to achieve, then you will also be comfortable with the fact that, it takes time. And even if you're starting with getting some response for a single person, two people, 10 people, that's how it'll multiply, as long as you know that you're at least doing it right. So that is the super important thing. And coming to the other thing, which I know a lot of people struggle with, is, trying to get acceptance from people, especially people like your immediate friends, family. And I think that brings in some sort of consciousness, and then you start wondering, hey, is it okay for me to put myself like that on social media? Or what will somebody think? What will my friend think, my parents think, my, some close one think? uh, but I would really want to tell you how you could solve this is, either you have like a separate account wherein you don't have all of your family and close friends, build up a professional account. So that's how you could start. And that initially when you're starting a new page wherein they're not connected, so it's obviously a filtration in itself, that not everybody can see you. So that is something that could be kind of comforting. That's surely a way to build that wall. And the second thing is that if you could, gradually take away that hitch of feeling odd with the people that you like and your family members, it will actually help. Because ultimately, when you're starting out, or even if you are doing decently well, you're building up a business, you want more work, the people are actually the most immediate and the, like the first go to people who will start recommending you, who will start giving you some connects, and who will see what you're doing. They'll ask you questions. So that could actually be a learning ground. So if you could, push yourself a little to get over that consciousness and just think that, just as they say, dance like nobody's watching. So if you could develop that mindset and just be so focused on what you're trying to do, not think about who's going to respond, who's watching it. So that will gradually fade away. And trust me, I think at the end of the day, if you're doing a great job, if you kind of, get success out of whatever you put out there, whatever you're trying to build, I'm sure your loved ones will also really feel proud. And, they'll be like, hey, that's my friend, or that's my sister, or that's my brother. So I think that is just really maybe a mental block. And if you could just let go of it, don't put so much pressure on yourself and just start putting yourself out there, I think that will really, really help. So there's really no need to be so conscious and think about what people will think. We have to tell people what we do. I mean, they need to think and know and wonder what we're doing, because that's how we will really start growing. So I would say that is another roadblock that causes overthinking. Um, and yeah, so far, are there any questions or anything? Is it like getting too boring? Anything that you want to jump in and share? All right, nothing so far. So we'll move ahead. And I will talk about the next thing that kind of causes overthinking is when you try to be perfect. You think that, hey, this has to be really sorted and it has to be like your best shot at sharing something. Let's say it's creating an artwork or showing some side of your brand, or if it's a business. So here the confusion I think happens that if you are like a brand that has a team that's supporting it, there are like 2 3 people, it's a growing team or something, then you don't feel this urge of perfection, because then you already have that sort of backing, I'm sure, and you've done the groundwork needed, you've invested in things like branding, strategy, content, all those things have happened. So then you would not think of perfection, you would just simply follow what needs to be done for your brand. But especially when you're like a single person, a solopreneur, or a freelancer, a creative who's trying to put stuff out there, so then it becomes that your mind kind of pushes you towards, because you get that consciousness, and you try to be really perfect. So that's where that problem starts. But I would say again, literally, as they say, nobody has all the answers, nobody knows what they're doing. Things change when you start putting yourself, sharing things, when you grow, when you do more work, when you get more ideas, it will change, you will evolve. So I'm sure when you go back and see, the kind of designs or the portfolios that you made, let's say a year back, 6 months back, there is a huge difference, right? You've changed, it's improved. It's the same for social media. So just put whatever you think is like your best thought or best post uh, in today's date, and just put it out there. Maybe you have not perfected things like your copy or the hashtags, but there's something, just put a little bit of your heart and soul and just be a little candid. It's okay if you're a little vulnerable, but as long as you're doing that and you're, just happy, not stressed about it, I think that's really what you need. In fact, there are so many people, like I'm also one of them, who try not to get into an over perfection mode, because that makes me feel super odd. That's not really who I am. I'm pretty candid in the way I talk, I'm pretty candid in the way I put out stuff. So trying to be perfect is something that you can really, really do away with. That thought is, because you will evolve, you will change anyway. So if you're trying to make it perfect today, that's not really needed anyway. Yeah. So yeah, so Ursula, you say that you like the idea of a separate account. Yes, for sure you can start off with a separate account. But as I mentioned, I would again want to remind that starting from scratch, starting from zero, a separate account is really, really tough. And in fact, you might come to a point where you will feel that, okay, I'm growing, but I think I need some support of people I know, some friends that I know. And that's where you feel the need that, hey, okay, let the family members also see it, or some relatives also see it, because they will help spread the word in the beginning stage. So uh, for sure it's a great option if you're really conscious. But even if you just build up on having some people as your backing, I don't think it hurts. It just helps get that little boost. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. And yeah, the next thing that I would say is how you can really stop overthinking is, if you're really stuck, let's say, I mentioned that you need to have clarity, you need to know what's your purpose, why you have your goals, things like that. Let's say you don't have the answers yet, right? Because that's also something that I went through. Sometimes you really don't know, you're still not sure, you're still figuring it out, but you still feel that you have things to share out there with the world. So I think that is, in a way, you can put your mindset as that, hey, I'm literally documenting my journey. You can literally put up in your bio or your websites or your introduction, wherever you have put things about yourself, you can just say that, hey, I am figuring things out, or I'm on a journey of self learning, self development, or maybe becoming a designer, becoming an entrepreneur, and I'm sharing and documenting whatever I'm learning in the process. So sometimes that's like also a way where you will get over that overthinking, because you have allowed and accepted and given yourself the permission that, hey, I am not talking from an expert's point of view. I'm not talking like I'm the best in the business and I need to, sell you something super big or for a very high cost. I'm still figuring it out. So it's just about documenting the journey. So if you think you're in that stage wherein you're not completely prepared, just pause and ask yourself, and it's really okay if you just start documenting your journey. A lot of people do that. They just take it as a, almost a journal. Social media becomes their journal, wherein they're sharing whatever they're learning on their journey. And that's equally a cool way of being and developing content on social media. Yeah, so on that note, what Brampton says, what do you think about using TikTok to promote your art account? If it's a good idea, what type of content would be right for it to make? So Rampton, unfortunately, I'm not on TikTok because I'm in India and TikTok is banned in here. But from what I've studied, TikTok for sure is a platform a lot of people are using, a lot of known entrepreneurs, brands are using. So I think you can really be out there, especially if you're trying to, get that sort of, if you think your audience would be somebody who's a little in the younger age bracket. That's the first criteria that I would see. That because like I remember there's one entrepreneur, she shares financial tips and tricks on TikTok, because for young audience who's in the age group of, let's say, 20 to 30, 25. So that's a filtration that you can do, because again, as I said, that just because TikTok is like a hot platform, I wouldn't jump there unless it's really, I have an idea of why am I there, how will it help me. Or you could do something like you saying you want to promote your art account, so you really do it, you start promoting your art. And because it has a great organic reach right now, and if you really build up, maybe that could become something that you can sell. Then you can say that, hey, this is how I grew my account on TikTok, and that's how you could sell something to other people. So first is just be clear of why do you want to be on TikTok. And second is, what type of content that you're asking is, obviously TikTok is a very, very candid platform. So I think I would say, without diluting what you do, without diluting the kind of art you put out, I would definitely put in a lot of behind the scenes and show some of your art, even things that you've created, the final pieces. I would show that, and I wouldn't shy away from sharing a little bit about, if you're building it as a personal brand, so a little bit about you. Sometimes, what's your thought process like, or what are your beliefs like? What kind of person are you? So there are so many things. Again, it boils back to why do you want to be there. If you have some sense of why do you want to be there, the ideas for content are endless. Yeah, so I hope that kind of answers your question, Rampton. So for just the people who joined in late, I spoke about the ways that you can kind of get over, overthinking social media. The first is get clarity of why do you want to make content and why do you want to be on social media. Second is stop thinking that you're for everyone and stop worrying about your friends, family who'll be watching you. Ultimately, it is social media, right? It is meant for people. So if you're anxious to be with people, if you're anxious about networking, that is not the best thing for your business or in any way, even if it's like a small service that you're kind of trying to sell. So if that's like a hitch, so I would say just work on itself, get over that mindset block, and just be out there without a worry. It's okay. We're all figuring it out. There's really nothing to worry. The third thing is that just don't stress about being perfect. And the fourth is that you can literally think of it as documenting your journey rather than trying to show something as from an expert's point of view. And gradually, as you document and you reach a level wherein you actually think that you're an expert, wherein you can deal with social media like a breeze, then you can just roll. So really depends what works the best for you, but just be out there. The more you're out there, the more you play with it, the more you play with the tools, put yourself. I mean, you can literally just, if you're scared of pictures, you can just go out there and say that, hey, this is my first post wherein I have clicked a picture of mine and I've shared it. And I am super camera shy. I just hate clicking pictures. But this is my first attempt and I want to be like connected with people. So if you start talking like that, that'll easen you up, and it'll also, people will love it. Like social media really loves authenticity and vulnerability. So that's another way to look at it. So yeah, so that is what I had in terms of the kind of mindset shifts or things that you could do to get over the overthinking part. And what other questions? Like, do you want me to go further into how do you get clarity and any other things that you want me to touch upon? I would be just happy to have that chat now. All right. So yeah, Rampton says that people still use it with the vehicles. Um, I am not really active on TikTok, so I wouldn't be the best person to say how it's being used. I did start it, but then till then it wasn't as hot, and I had just started off, and then they stopped it. So because I already had other platforms going on, and I wanted to focus there, and in fact, that was the point of time that I was still myself trying to figure out a lot of things. So I did not really go back to TikTok. So yeah. So, anything else that comes to your mind, anything else that you want to ask or share or just talk about? You get stuck with the overthinking loop, or is there something that bothers you about social media, about being out there? What is it that stops you from being out there if you really, really want to be out there? All right, so I think there are no further questions. If there are none, then we can probably end the stream. And if you still think there are any questions that you have, you can really DM me on Instagram. I'm pretty active out there. And if you want to just have, if any hesitation that you have for being out there on social media, and if there's something that's blocking you from being there and putting out yourself, and that's kind of not really helping you to promote your business, so just feel free to send me a DM, and I will be super happy to respond. And currently, if there are any questions, you can just throw them here and I will just talk about it as well. All right, I guess nothing for now. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I would try and do this more often. I am pretty chatty and I love interacting. So if there is anything specific that you want me to discuss, and if that is something that I can, so that is also something that you can DM or share here in the comments in the space of branding, content, social media strategy, and creativity. So anything on that front, which I can also jump into, I would love to do that. Thank you.